those brackets as a variable, and that's what they are. I use a little bit of mustache. How many of you guys know what mustache is? Awesome. So if you don't know what mustache is this really simple templating language. All right, it's got, in fact, I only use it for a variable interpolation basically inside of strings. And the neat thing about it is that there's implementations on all different languages. And the template itself is consistent, but you can have these implementations in all these different languages. So I happen to use Ruby Mustache, which was created by one of the guys at GitHub. And all I do is I say, okay, I'm going to assume that I have that ID around, and I'm going to render onto that path string the context, which has the ID. And it's basically just a hash, and all we get is variable substitution there. Now, the reason you have to do this is because when your Cucumber story is running, you don't have variable interpolation in the string in the Cucumber step definition. So if I tried to use, for example, instead of that, if I tried to use like £, curly brackets, that wouldn't work. I could eval it, potentially, which is kind of, I mean, Mustache is probably not implemented that way, but conceptually it's the same thing. Mustache, to me, just makes it a lot easier. And the cool thing is, again, back to thinking in terms of documentation for your API. This is a good way to be able to pull this out later and just say ID must be replaced with the current ID value. So it leads to, I think, decent API documentation. So, and then once I render into that path, I just call a get on it. All right, and that behaves just like you would expect. It gets the data, sticks it into, let me actually show you. So that was the example of using the last ID right there. So instead of actually storing it, I could say, I'm going to say the last ID from this model, and it will just constantize that.